Alright, we are live. Welcome this evening to Live on SLOWMOED. 66 live stream on SLOWMOED. Thank you for joining me this evening. We have some important topics to cover like always this evening, wherever you're viewing from. Make sure you drop in the comment section where y'all are watching from if y'all enjoy the content. And also make sure y'all visit our official website, as you see on the screen, www.slowmoed.com. We're at our home page. Check out our recent slow-moed Moorish portal that we created. Cousin Stiz Stone Yu Yu Hakusho portal. So make sure you check out that music video to transport y'all perceptually to alternative reality in the 21st century. Also give our 1,000 subscribers video a watch whenever you can. Excuse me while I set up a few things here.
Building health equity into the most trusted, secure platform in healthcare.
Gotta edit something in my description really quickly for this video, and I will continue with the topic here. Okay, so the topic of this live stream is going to be the ego boost from European degrees. African moors created the first universities. So this is impromptu. So the ego boost behind college degrees in our current day society gives the false notion of superiority. And I will elaborate on this in the upcoming moments. I first want to start off with a couple of literature. Make sure y'all subscribe. Hit that subscribe button down below. There's a book that I want to show. I'm not sure where it went. Okay, it's over here. Never mind. So many tabs open. So this is the book we're going to start off with this live stream I'm about to show you. About to show y'all on the screen shortly. So we're going to be drawing from this book. If I can get the tab to come over. I can't even grab the tab. So we're going to be going over this book right here, the integration trap, the generation gap, the new founders of Kemet, caused by a choice between two cultures, by Oba Tishaka, PhD. And this is chapter 2, page 82 of the same book. So, in our last video, we explained that the Twa and Buti Khoisan, the Moorish Twa and Buti Khoisan, according to the book Who Were the Moors Before the Moors, are the actual Moors and the originators of humanity. Let me bring up this reference. So I want to show this on the screen really quickly. If you look here, let me make sure everything is all right. Everybody can see what's going on the screen. Okay, and let's go to So I want to show this book title. So this is from this book, chapter 2 of Who Were the Moors Before the Moors by Kaba Hiawatha Kamene. And then this book, if you see here on the screen, it shows here, chapter 2, the original Moors, the first human family, the Twa and Buti Khoisan of Central and Southern Africa. Quote, the great ones of the palace in the city of the god, Hamen, who shows respect for God, that is the king of Kemet, end quote. The earth's first human family, the Moors of Central and Southern Africa. To fully understand who the Moors were before they were called Moors, we must rescue, research, and restore the role of humanity's original Moorish people, the Twa and Buti Khoisan people of Central and South Africa, played in the early development of African philosophy, science, and art. Okay, so science, philosophy, and art. We already mentioned through other references that the Kemites or Egyptians are responsible for the alphabet and writing. So, let me show another reference. This is off topic. All this is impromptu. I didn't have a chance to study this before coming on the live. I'm going off the top of my head and connecting it for you all live as the camera is rolling, as everything is recording. So if I go to another book, by another PhD, by the name of Dr. Muada Ashby. I'm gonna have to look for this reference. So if you look on the screen here, we're looking at the book Kemetic Tree of Life. Let me see if I can find this reference for you all really quickly. Just so we get an understanding. It's probably not in this book. No, it's not this book. Here we go. So this is the book Serpent Power by Dr. Muada Ashby, PhD. Let me go and show his credentials. So about the author. This is the book Serpent Power, published in 1996. So about the author, who is Sabai Muada? About the author, who is Sabai Muada Abahia Ashby, Doctors of Divinity, PhD, Doctors of Philosophy, priest, author, lecturer, poet, philosopher, musician, publisher, counselor, and spiritual preceptor of the founder of the SEMA Institute Temple of Aset. Muada Ashby was born in Brooklyn, New York City, and grew up in the Caribbean. His family is from Puerto Rico and Barbados, displaying an interest in ancient civilizations and the humanities. Sabai Muada began studies in the area of religion and philosophy and achieved doctorates in these areas, while at the same time he began to collect his research into what would later become several books on the subject of the origins of yoga philosophy and practice in ancient African, ancient Egypt, and also the origins of Christian mysticism in ancient Egypt. Sabai Muada Abahia Ashby holds a Doctor of Philosophy degree in religion and a Doctor of Divinity degree in holistic health. He is also a pastoral counselor and teacher of yoga, philosophy, and discipline. Dr. Ashby received his Doctor of Divinity degree from and is an adjunct faculty member of the American Institute of Holistic Theology. Dr. Ashby is certified as a PrEP relationship counselor. Dr. Ashby has been an independent researcher and practitioner of Egyptian yoga, Indian yoga, Chinese yoga, Buddhism, and mystical psychology, as well as Christian mysticism. Dr. Ashby has engaged in postgraduate research in advanced jhana, bhakti, and kundalini yogas at the Yoga Research Foundation. He has extensively studied mystical religious traditions from around the world and is an accomplished lecturer, musician, artist, poet, screenwriter, playwright, and author of over 25 books on Kemetic yoga, spiritual philosophy. He is an ordained minister and spiritual counselor and also the founder of the SEMA Institute, a non-profit organization dedicated to spreading the wisdom of yoga and the ancient Egyptian mystical traditions. Further, he is a spiritual leader and head priest of the Aset, or Temple of Aset, based in Miami, Florida. Thus, as a scholar, Dr. Muada Ashby is a teacher, lecturer, and researcher. However, as a spiritual leader, his title is Sabai, which means spiritual preceptor. Sabai, Dr. Ashby began his research into spiritual philosophy of ancient Africa, Egypt, and India, and noticed correlations in the culture and arts of the two countries. This was the catalyst for a successful book series on the subject called, quote, Egyptian Yoga, end quote. Now he has created a series of musical compositions which explore this unique area of music from ancient Egypt and its connection to world music. So if we scroll back to page 13, I believe. No, page 14. So you see here, as I was stating earlier in the video, the Egyptians are responsible for the alphabet and writing, as we have showed on our various live streams through, and I'll bring up the references shortly, just to provide context. So let me open up a couple of more references. As I'm doing that, you can see on the screen what I'm about to get into. As I'm finding those references, y'all can read these two passages right here. So we're going to pull from the book Introduction to African Civilizations by John G. Jackson. So just to give some context, now I gotta find where this is at. Okay. So this is Introduction to African Civilizations, page 121. And let me show the title of the book. So as you can see on the screen, if y'all can see on the screen, Introduction to African Civilizations by John G. Jackson, introduction by John Henry Clark. So if we go to page 121, which is right here on the screen, this is a very important passage right here that's shown on the screen. So let me scroll down a little bit so I can show everything. So that pretty much shows everything right there. So we're about to read this before we continue with our subject. Among the great inventions of the Egyptians were the alphabet, paper, ink, and the pen. The first paper was made of thin strips of papyrus reeds pasted together. Ink was made from vegetable gum and soot mixed with water. By dipping a pointed reed into the ink, the Egyptian scribe wrote passages on the papyrus sheet. Writing was a basic invention, and its influence on the evolution of civilization was profound. Quote, the invention of writing and of a convenient system of records on paper, end quote, says Breasted, quote, has had a greater influence in the uplifting of the human race than any other intellectual achievement in the career of man. It was more important than all the battles ever fought and all the constitutions ever devised, end quote. And this is from the book Ancient Times, page 45 by James Henry Breasted, PhD. Okay? So in this book, Serpent Power, on page 14, as you see right here on the screen, about the ancient Egyptians, quote, our people originated at the base of the mountain of the moon, at the origin of the Nile River, end quote. And this is translated. Quote, they also say that the Egyptians are colonists sent out by the Ethiopians, ASAR having been the leader of that colony, end quote. Diodorus Siculus, historian, Greek historian. Herodotus, quote, the Egyptians and the Nubians have thick lips, broad noses, woolly hair, and burnt skin. And the Indian tribes I mentioned, their skins are all of the same color. Much like the Ethiopians, their country is a long way from Persia towards the south, end quote. Herodotus. So also quoted by Plato in his book Timaeus, when he quotes Solon on Solon's visit to the conversation with the Egyptian priest Sais, quote, compared with the Egyptians, this is paraphrased as well, compared with the Egyptians, the Greeks are childish mathematicians, end quote, by Plato. Now, this was said by the Egyptian priest Osiris, who said this to Solon. And Solon was the teacher of Plato. Was a teacher of Plato, excuse me. Okay, so some more by Diodorus Siculus, Greek historian, on page 15 of the same book. Diodorus Siculus, Greek historian, writes in the time of Augustus, 1st century BC, quote, now the Ethiopians, as historians relate, were the first of all men, and the proofs of the statement they say are manifest. For they did not come into their land as immigrants from abroad, but were the natives of it, and so justly bear the name as Alachituns, sprung from the soil itself, is, they maintain, conceded by practically all men, end quote. And he continues here from what I just read on page 14. Quote, they also say that the Egyptians are colonists sent out by the Ethiopians, ASAR having been the leader of the colony, for speaking generally, what is now Egypt, they maintain, was not land but sea. When in the beginning the universe was formed, afterwards, however, as the Nile, during the times of inundation, carried off the mud from Ethiopia, land was gradually built up from the deposit, and the larger parts of the customs of the Egyptians are, they hold, Ethiopian. The colonists still preserving their ancient manners, for instance, their belief in their kings that are gods, the very special attention which they pay to their burials, and many other matters of a similar nature, are Ethiopian practices, with shapes of their statutes and the forms of their letters are Ethiopian. For of the two kinds of writing which the Egyptians have, that which is known as popular Demotic is learned by everyone, while that which is sacred hieratic is understood only by the priests of the Egyptians, who learned it from their fathers. I'm trying to zoom in. That's not allowing me to do that. Okay. Who learned it from their fathers as one of the things which are not divulged, but among the Ethiopians. Everyone uses these forms of letters. Furthermore, the orders of the priests they maintain have much the same position among both peoples. For all are clean, who engaged in the service of the gods, keeping themselves shaven like the Ethiopian priests, and having the same dress and form of staff, which is shaped like the plow and is carried by their kings, who wear high felt hats, which end in a knob on the top and are circled by serpents, which they call asps. And this symbol appears to carry the thought that it will be the lot who shall dare to attack the king, to encounter death-carrying stings. Many other things are told, but them concern their own antiquity and the colony which they sent out that became the Egyptians. But about this, there is no special need of our writing anything, end quote. So continuing here, the ancient Egyptian texts state, quote, our people originated at the base of the mountain of the moon, at the origin of the Nile River, end quote. And it has here the hieroglyphics for Kemet, quote, Kemet, end quote, Kemet, quote, Egypt, end quote, burnt, end quote, land of blackness, end quote, land of the burnt people, end quote. Okay? So I just wanted to touch on that. Let's go back to Who Are the Moors Before the Moors by Kabahawata Kamene. So as we just got through reading, to fully understand the Moors, and who they were before the Moors. They were the Moorish Twa and Buti Khoisan people. So having some technical difficulties here. Let's see here. Technical difficulties. Give me one moment. All right. Alright, so all of my windows closed. Let me show the screen really quickly. Okay. Excuse the technical difficulties. All the tabs closed, so I just need to find this information again, pull up this information again. So if you see here on the same book, hang on, let me.
It's your booster. Stole the
So in the same book, this is page 93. Page 93. As you can see here, the Moorish Twa and Buti Khoisan Motia. So we're talking about Moors here. So the ego boost from education, when the first people on the planet brought education, the Twa and Buti Khoisan. So what I wanted to show in the integration trap by Dr. Oba Tashaka on chapter 2. Just so that we can clear up the nonsense. So, chapter 2, formative African history, Twa hunter-gatherer societies, the foundation for ancient Africa and world civilizations. The 6 stages of formative history, ancient African and world history. This chapter will explain the history of ancient Africa to define and apply ancient Africa's organizational cultural models to modern times. the focus will be on the hunter-gatherer societies of the Twa, the innovators of the world's first and most just civilization. This first stage provides the foundational model for the next three societies: the agrarian democracies, the world's oldest civilization, Nubia, and the world's greatest ancient classical civilization, Kemet or Egypt, and the civilizations of ancient Asia. The central features found in Twa hunter-gatherer societies provide the foundation for subsequent African and world civilization. These features are many, including the idea of God as vital force, or Ilani, the vibrating word, hieroglyphic thought, Ma'at, and God as all good. Also included is the extended family community and the most just family paradigm on earth, the twin lineal family paradigm, the system of dowry, where the male's family provides the dowry, and a male-female system of economic organization. Other features include the world's first educational system based on imitation, the origination of astronomy, the system of a shared society grounded in communalism, the organization. Excuse me, let me show this. Where I got lost. The organization of astronomy. Okay, I was right here. The system of a shared society grounded in communalism, the organization of the idea and practice of democracy, and the establishment of the world's first musical and dance system. Okay. The Twa, the world's first people, shaped these principles and practices, which were then transmitted throughout the world, creating an African and world cultural unity. Okay. So, other features includes the world's first educational system based on imitation. Okay? So, in modern times, specifically currently in our present time, the year 2026, in the year 2026, there is a ego boost behind college degrees based off of European education. So we have people who believe that obtaining a PhD from a European university is the pinnacle of knowledge, when the first doctor in recorded history was Imhotep, African-moor Imhotep. As we can see through all the references that we just shown, specifically if we go to the book Serpent Power, the references that we just shown on page 14, 15, and 16, showing that the origin of the Egyptians came from the interior of Africa, who were the Twa Mbuti Khoisan, Moorish African people, dark-skinned, swarthy, according to English. So if we go to Imhotep, the first recorded physician in history, I'm not sure if he's in this book. Let's look at the index. So I don't think he's in this book. So let us go to another book by Dr. Muhammad Ashby. Not that book, okay. We have Kemetic Diet, Egyptian Mysteries, Volume 3. So I can use this. See, this is impromptu. So this is the book, if you see on the screen, Egyptian Mysteries, Volume 3. The Priests and Priestesses of Ancient my power tool is not working. Hang on. Okay, there we go. It's back up. Okay, so the Priests and Priestesses of Ancient Egypt and the Living Tradition of Naturian Culture and Mystical Spirituality by slow-moe'd Ashby. So if you see here on the screen, disciplines, but is mostly concerned with Sabai enlightenment, i.e. mysticism, mystical philosophy. It is not necessary for an aspirant to engage in that level of training in all disciplines in order to attain the Hesh, enlightenment. All the above average aspirant needs is to become proficient in one system, and that will lead the aspirant to enlightenment. The reason to become Sabai is if the aspirant wants to be teaching on the level of nation building and to be disseminating teachings in several different areas or disciplines of specialization, like the ancient Kemetic sage Imhotep, who had many degrees. But more generally speaking, what the aspirant needs to do is pick one system and become proficient in that. So, this is page 209 of the same book. So, Beck and Chuns had 4 years of primary school, 11 years as an apprentice, 4 years as an... Oh man, I'm getting lost. 4 years as a novitate priest. And then from there, he went on in his career into his 50s when he became a high priest. This gives an idea of the life of a personality like Imhotep, who had achieved 6 academic degrees, of which we have knowledge: medical doctor, lawyer, architect, sage, vizier. He was a government leader, like a vice president. You can imagine how if you start your career at 5 years of age, you will be highly trained, and by the time you are 40 years old, so I want to show that because the Egyptian mystery system is responsible for educating the Greek philosophers. If we go to the book Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James, Let me pull that up for you guys just really quickly. So now we're on everend.com trying to get the book Stolen Legacy pulled up by George G.M. James. If that pull up, if it won't pull up, I'll look up on archive.org. Oh, I forgot. It's not available on archive. Okay, here we go. So we got it up. This is the book Stolen Legacy, George M. James. And then the introduction. In the introduction, he says, finally, the dishonesty and the movement of the publication of a Greek philosophy becomes very glaring when we refer to the fact purposely that by calling the theorem of the square on the hypotenuse the Pythagorean theorem, it has concealed the truth for centuries from the world. Who ought to know that the Egyptians taught Pythagoras and the Greeks what mathematics they knew. So as we've seen earlier in the book, I believe Serpent Power, no, not that book. Oh, wrong book. So in the book Serpent Power, the quote from Plato, compared with the Egyptians, the Greeks are childish mathematicians, end quote, by Plato. So if you go to George G.M. James' book, it's evident here that he says here, it has concealed the truth for centuries from the world. Who ought to know that the Egyptians taught Pythagoras and the Greeks what mathematics they knew. So our Western society, our Western culture, educational culture is based upon these Greek quote-unquote philosophers. And it has been misconstrued that Hippocrates is the quote-unquote father of medicine, when in actuality he learned his medicine from indirectly and directly from Africa and Africans, the science thereof, because we understand that medicine originated in the continent of Africa. So to further continue the point, the ego boost from European degrees unfortunately, we have scholars, PhDs that understand African Moorish history. However, view the European college degrees as the pinnacle of knowledge. We have certain PhDs that think this way. And the Africans are the first doctors according to history. I wanted to show Asclepius. Imhotep is Asclepius, but let me see if I can find that really quickly. And we have multiple books, so I'm just sorting through all of this. I think it's in Egyptian yoga. Philosophy of Enlightenment. Let's find that book. Man, I don't even know where that book is. I think that might be on Scribe. So I got books everywhere, books on Everand, on Scribe, in person. And also Scribe and Everand, they delete books, remove books. So you have to deal with that.
The General gives you a break to keep you covered.
Yeah, whether it's on your car insurance.
Or taking a break from being the auto-tune guy.
Oh man, it's terrible. That ain't gonna work. Well, I'm currently looking for the Egyptian yoga philosophy of enlightenment, and I can't find it at the moment. So I want to show this book on the screen. I've been having difficulty finding it. Nobody in the chat. No comments on the topic. So I'm just going to show a couple of videos. We have nobody viewing and nobody in the chat. So this makes for good real content. Good shorts to make since nobody's viewing. So this is a post.
And so even when we got a PhD,
This is a post on our official Twitter page at slow-moe'd420. Make sure you give us a follow. And we have here Dr. Infludici Jehuzimus, Dr. Edward W. Robinson Jr., and Dr. Asa G. Hilliard III. Doctors revealed that college degrees are not that important to the dark-skinned people in their African history, as they have been brainwashed to believe.
And so even when we got a PhD, it's from a European perspective. That's what that. And so even when we got a PhD, it's from a European perspective. That's what that really means. Dr. Ben used to say, when you get your BS, that's bullshit. You got a bullshit degree. When you get the master's, you mastered the bullshit. When you get a doctor's degree, you got higher and deeper in the bullshit. Okay? I'm taking it to another level, Brother Simon. The whole society, the government, excuse the expression, is defecating on us. When you get a degree, instead of getting defecated on, you become the toilet paper that he wipes his butt with. Your master's, the toilet tissue is a little softer. When you get your doctor's degree, you got like Charlotte, you got the softest tissue, helping your master out, because Carnegie Woodson said our most educated in their paradigm will be our new enslavers. And he wrote that in 1931.
Dr. Robinson, maybe you tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce us to you and your brother, and tell us a little bit about the work you've been doing and a little bit about your background.
Well, we're a group of miseducated black folks, as 99% of so-called educated black folks are miseducated, because if you don't learn anything about the beauty, grandeur, and sophistication of your ancestors, then you're miseducated. I don't know how many degrees you have. We have several degrees. I'm a lawyer, law degree. I have all kinds of degrees, just proving that until you learn about Akhenaten, until you learn about Khufu, until you learn about so many ideas, until you learn about the great masters of mathematics and astronomy thousands of years ago with black people, then they're miseducated. White people, fortunately for their children, they are taught about Galileo and Plato and Aristotle and the greatness of their European background. But we're not. So I was very happy to be introduced to my ancestors after I had accomplished 4 degrees. And that's when I started becoming educated.
The fruits of the work of Joel Rogers for 40 years, 50 years. One of the most traveled Africans in the world. He's got books, Second Rate, Volume 1, 2, 3. Nature Knows No Color Line. He got one on African world history and everything. He does a lot of work. He was a Pullman porter, by the way, which probably had something to do with the quality of his scholarship. If he had gone the other way, he would be stupid. He got a PhD at the University of Chicago, he'd probably be stupid. Because he would not know what questions to ask. He would ask only the approved questions. So he began to do it a different way. He was not hemmed in by his education. Not putting down education. You ought to get all you can. But you ought to come out whole to get an education. So I put this.
So I just wanted to show that. To correlate with our topic, the ego boosted European degrees, and the African Moors created the first universities. So the first universities on the second side of this live stream, the African Moors created the first universities. Let's go to the book, The Mysteries of Isis. Let me pull that up here shortly. So if you see here on the screen, we got the book by Dr. Muhammad Ashby, The Mysteries of Isis, published in 1996. Temple of Philae. So, found what I was looking for. It's on page 100 of Egyptian Mysteries, Volume 3. So, I was looking for the evidence of the first universities in text by PhD. So, Dr. Muad has a doctor's degree in divinity and holistic health and religion. Egyptian Mysteries, Volume 3, Priests and Priestesses of Ancient Egypt. So on page 100, just to give some context, we're going to start on page 99 first. See if I can see everything on the screen. Okay, in African religion, the tradition of storytelling achieves the purpose of transmitting myths that contain the basic concepts of human identity as a part of a cultural and offers insight into the nature of the universe. Those who aspire to become clergy must develop a competent knowledge of and ability to quote, tell, end quote, and otherwise disseminate the myths. In the Tyrian culture, during festivals of observance of holidays, myth-telling was supplemented with special rituals for the public and for the clergy, in which reenactments were performed and ancient stories recounted. Myths contain a special language of self-knowledge and also proverbs that provide moral education for an ethical society. Rituals are formal, ceremonial, and informal, virtuous living practices which allow human beings to come into harmony within themselves. I think he meant all, which allow all human beings to come in contact with themselves. The environment and the spirit, this movement eventually leads to an ecstatic experience that transcends time and space and allows a human being to discover and experience the divine firsthand. The Natarian concept of the three levels of experience may be understood in more details as 1. The mortals, Tamu, mortals, human men and women, students who were being introduced on a probationary status but had not experienced inner vision. 2. In the intelligences, wrecked, knowledgeable ones, students who had attained inner vision and had received a glimpse of cosmic consciousness. 3. The creators or beings of light, Aku, illumined men and women, students who have become identified with or united with the light of God. The temple architecture also signifies that there are 3 forms of actions: thought, word, and deed. The outer court is the place for deeds, work to propitiate the divinity, i.e. lower worship, physical rituals, offerings to the divine, and prayers to the divine. The temple precinct is the house of life, hospital, and university, where the whole town gathers for instruction, healing, worship, and the divine. So the temple that Dr. Muhammad Ashby is referring to, as we glimpse through, is this Natarian temple right here, which is an African temple that predates the first quote-unquote university on the world, which would be misnomer Fatima, I believe. So we have this right here. If you look up or Google first university in the world, and you have this pull up, University of Al-Qarawiyyin, and also Fatima Al-Fayri, founder of the world's first university, and it says here 859 AD. This is incorrect. And let me bring up a YouTuber that has been claiming this as the first university. Inaccurately crediting this as the first and oldest university in the world, which is false.
So the oldest university.
So we have here, I have to call this out, Sabir Bey, but it has to be addressed because this is inaccurate information being shared and regurgitated.
In the world is in Morocco. So the oldest university in the world is in Morocco. It's in Morocco. They took that one down, so it's on StreamYard. So this is the thing. StreamYard is saved on StreamYard. So everybody keeps saying you should back your stuff up. My stuff is saved on StreamYard. So let me just show y'all. And Percy can bear with us. He was here too. The oldest university is by a woman. This is me in Morocco. This is the oldest university in the world. The University of Al-Qarawiyyin. That is the oldest university in the world. So what can possibly be weak about my information? That's the oldest university in the world.
So this is an inaccurate statement because as we see here, these Natarian African temples in Kush Kemet were considered the first universities, according to this PhD. Right here on page 100 of Egyptian Mysteries, Volume 3, Priests and Priestesses of Ancient Kemet, or Egypt. So these temples, these Natarian temples, they predate Al-Qur'an or whatever Sabir Beja said by thousands of years. Let's just look up one. This isn't to discredit what Sabir Bey is saying. So the temple of Haru at Edfu, let's see the date and construction of that. So the temple of Haru at Edfu, ancient Jibu, is the most completely preserved ancient Egyptian temple dedicated to falcon-headed god of kingship, protection, and the sky. So we already understand that. Let me go back to our other reference, The Integration Trap by Dr. Oba Tashaka, showing that on chapter 2, page 82, that other features of the world's first educational system was based off imitation. So this was a creation of the Twa, the Moorish Twa, and Buti Khoisan of Central and Southern Africa. According to the book Who Are the Moors Before the Moors, let me go to the Moorish Twa. If you see on the screen, this is page 93 of this same book right here. The Moorish Twa and Buti Khoisan, Motia. As you can see here on the screen, the original Moors, chapter 2. page 88. To fully understand who were the Moors before the Moors, they were called Moors. We must rescue, research, and restore the role of humanity's original Moorish people. The Twa Mbuti Khoisan people of Central and South Africa played a role in the early development of philosophy, science, and art. So we already showed that the alphabet and writing came from Africa and Africans, specifically the Kemites, who was basically a colony of the Ethiopians. And we have all these temples that were built. Now, as far as universities in our modern connotative sense, they weren't treated as such. But according to this scholar, the temple in Egyptian Mysteries, Volume 3, on page 100, the temple architecture also signifies there are three forms of action: thought, word, and deed. The outer court is the place for deeds, work to propitiate the divinity, i.e. lower worship, physical rituals, offerings to the divine, and prayers to the divine. The temple precinct is the house of life, hospital, and university, where the whole town gathers for instruction, healing, and worship of the divine. So if we go back, just give me one moment. I gotta find where I left off at. Okay, oldest university. So I want to show this again.
Oldest university in the world. So the oldest university in the world is in Morocco. It's in Morocco. They took that one down, so it's on StreamYard. So this is the thing. StreamYard, it's saved on StreamYard. So everybody keeps saying you should back your stuff up. My stuff is saved on StreamYard. So let me just show y'all, and Percy can bear witness, he was here too. The oldest university is by a woman. This is me in Morocco. This is the oldest university in the world, the University of Al Qadawin. That is the oldest university in the world. So what can possibly be weak about my information? That's the oldest university in the world.
Okay, so the weak argument here by Sabir Bey is that the thing is, one must understand that there would be no university if there are no sciences, if there are no arts, if there is no writing, if there is no alphabet. There would be no university. So even the concept of university, the word university wouldn't exist without the alphabet. So if we see here from this book, The Integration Trap by Oba Tashaka, PhD, the features include the world's first educational system based on imitation by the Twa Mbuti Khoisan. The central features found in Twa hunter-gatherer societies provide the foundation for subsequent African and world civilizations. So you see here, hieroglyphic thought, vibrating word, ma'at, God is good, etc. But we have to understand that the alphabet is a creation of the Africans. Writing is a creation of the Africans. So if we go to the book Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man, another PhD, on page 43. So let me just show the title of the book. So if you see here, the Signs and Symbols of Primordial Man, the evolution of religious doctrines from the eschatology of the ancient Egyptians by Albert Churchward, MD, MRCP, MRCS, FGS, PM, PZ, 30-degree Freemason, author of, quote, The Origin and Antiquity of Freemasonry, end quote, etc., second edition with 20 illustrations. So if we go to page 43, which was just shown on the screen, and we've read this multiple times on our live streams. So, start right here. We're going to read right down to here. Okay? These cursive characters really form the first alphabet that ever existed. And from these, the Phoenician and hence all other alphabets emanated. Eusebius, Plato, and Tacitus all state that the Phoenicians did not claim themselves to be themselves the inventors of the art of writing, but admitted that it was obtained by them from Egypt. Therefore, the Egyptians were the inventors of the alphabet. So, to Sabir Bey, the weak information that you are presenting is that you're not going to the origin of the alphabet, the origin of writing, which is an African invention. So there would be no quote-unquote word university, or let me repeat that. There would be no word, quote, university, end quote, without the alphabet. So this must be understood. There would be no university without science, writing, mathematics, alphabet, etc., without these foundations. So this is misinformation. However, if we go to the book by Dr. Muada Ashby, Egyptian Mysteries, Volume 3, he's saying here that the temples, the Netarian temples, which are various throughout Egypt, or Kush Kemet, were seen as hospitals, house of life, and universities. However, if you go to Google, the Temple of Heru at Djibouti, Edfu, was a university. If you type that in, it says here, the Temple of Heru at Edfu was primarily a major religious cult center dedicated to the Falcon God, not a university in the modern sense. Built between 237 and 57 BC, it functioned as, quote, a house of life, end quote, for priests, serving as a repository for sacred texts, astronomical knowledge, and an archive of rituals. So, the house of life, the temple contained a library, or, quote, house of books, end quote, where priests study sacred scripts and record ancient knowledge.
Heck no. Money can't buy happiness. Everyone knows that. But it can give you a professional grade air grinder. Along with
So,
every other tool you need to
from this doctor of philosophy, we have him saying that the temple precinct is a house of life, hospital, and university, where the whole town gathers for instruction, healing, and worship of the divine. But this is the evidence that I'm presenting. And this is impromptu. Okay, so there would be no universities without the alphabet, without writing. Hang on, let me go. Let's go to the book by George Jim James, Stolen Legacy. There's a quote in this book. And we're just gonna pick through here. Okay, so we have here in the book Stolen Legacy, as you see here on the screen. And we're going to pick through here. We're going to pick apart what Sabir Bey is saying, as opposed to what's on Google. Let me go to the chapter. So this is the notes section of this book. We're going to start. Okay. So if y'all see on the screen, this is an inference from the nature of the Egyptian mysteries and prevailing custom. A. The Egyptian mystery system was the one holy Catholic religion of the remotest antiquity. B. It was the one and only Masonic order of antiquity, and as such. C. It built the Grand Lodge of Luxor in Egypt and encompassed the ancient world with its branch lodges. D. It was the first university of history, and it made knowledge a secret, so that all who desired to become priests and teachers had to obtain their training from the mystery system, either locally at a branch lodge or by traveling to Egypt. Let me repeat this. Let me make it big so you all can see on the screen. I can actually make the text bigger. I don't know why I'm doing this. Let's make the text bigger. There we go. That's what I was doing wrong. Okay, this is better. Alright. So the Egyptian mystery system. Let's bring up Sabir Bey. So you have Sabir Bey saying,
so the oldest university in the world is in Morocco. It's in Morocco. They took that one down, so it's on StreamYard. So this is the thing. StreamYard is saved on StreamYard. So everybody keeps saying you should back your stuff up. My stuff is saved on StreamYard. So let me just show y'all, and Percy can bear witness, he was here too. The oldest university is by a woman. This is me in Morocco. This is the oldest university in the world, the University of Al Qadawin. That is the oldest university in the world. So what can possibly be weak about my information? That's the oldest university in the world.
So this is what Sabir Bey said, and I just basically showed the evidence here showing that the African Moors, or ancient Kush Kimite Moors, created the first universities. And that concept of university, and even the concept of writing and the alphabet itself, originated from the African Moorish Twa and Buti Khoisan people at the base of the Mountain of the Moon, which we have shown throughout this live stream. So we have PhDs and scholars in our current time that are basically seeing European education as the pinnacle of knowledge, when the knowledge of medicine, which is who these PhDs take their oath to, Asclepius, which is actually the African Imhotep, comes from the African Moors, the Tuan Buti Khoisan, and their knowledge, the imitation of nature. So it was so from the book Stolen Legacy by George G.M. James, to based on what Sabir Bey was just saying in the notes section of this book. So let me make this smaller text again. Okay. So in the note text of this book, it was the first university of history, and it made knowledge a secret, so that all who desired to become priests and teachers had to obtain their training from the mystery system, either locally at a branch lodge or by traveling to Egypt. So this is centuries. This is centuries before the university of what Sabir Bey is talking about. Let's see. Let's continue here. So, let me zoom in. Egyptian mystery system. Trying to show the full page, so y'all can see what I'm reading. So we're going to start here. Plotinus defines this experience as the liberation of the mind from the infinite consciousness when it becomes one and is identified with the infinite. This liberation was not only freedom from the soul from bodily impediments, but also from the will of reincarnation or rebirth. Rebirth. It involved a process of disciplines or purification both for the body and the soul. Since the mystery system offered the salvation of the soul, it also placed great emphasis upon its immortality. The Egyptian mystery system, like the modern university, was the center of organized culture, and candidates entered it as the leading source of ancient culture. So even so the Library of Alexandria even became a university. And this is 1,200 years before what the university that Sabir Bey is talking about. So as you see here, what page is this? Let's see where we're at. We're in the appendix. Apart from the looting of libraries and the conversion of the Library of Alexandria into a university for their education, the Greeks had another way of adopting the culture of the Egyptians. The Ptolemies used the commandeer useful information from the Egyptian high priest, and we are told that Ptolemy I Soter commanded the high priest of Manetho to write the history of religion and philosophy of the Egyptians, and this was done, and the volumes became the chief textbooks in the University of Alexandria. So what is Sabir Bey talking about?
So the oldest university in the world is in Morocco. It's in Morocco. They took that one down, so it's on StreamYard. So this is the thing. StreamYard is saved on StreamYard. So everybody keeps saying you should back your stuff up. My stuff is saved on StreamYard. So let me just show y'all, and Percy can bear witness, he was here too. The oldest university is by a woman. This is me in Morocco. This is the oldest university in the world, the University of Al-Qadawin. That is the oldest university in the world. So what can possibly be weak about my information? That's the oldest university in the world.
I'm looking for another quote that I believe is in this book, or Destruction of African Civilization is one of these books. There's a quote that I'm looking for. I think it's by Clement, saying that you could take the names, a book of 1,000 pages, and put the names of the Greeks who studied in Africa. I'm looking for that. I can't find the quote that I'm looking for currently, but it's in one of these books. So continuing on universities. So on the screen, I believe this is in the appendix as well. So if you see here on the screen, this consists of 3 actors. A. Alexander the Great, who invaded Egypt and plundered the Royal Library of Alexandria. B. Aristotle and the alumni of his school, who took possession of the Royal Library and, having first carried off large quantities of scientific books, subsequently converted it into a research center and university. The Roman government, which through the edicts of Emperors Theodosius and Justinian closed down the Egyptian mysteries, together with the schools, the University of the Ancient World, and system of African culture. Okay, so the University of Alexandria, this we're talking about 500 years before.
So the oldest university in the world is in Morocco. It's in Morocco. They took that one down, so it's on StreamYard. So this is the thing. StreamYard, it's saved on StreamYard. So everybody keeps saying you should back your stuff up. My stuff is saved on StreamYard. So let me just show y'all, and Percy can bear witness, he was here too. The oldest university is by a woman. This is me in Morocco. This is the oldest university in the world, the University of Al Qadawin. That is the oldest university in the world. So what can possibly be weak about my information? That's the oldest university in the world. So,
Okay, so this is what Siberia Bay just said. Now let's look up the oldest university in the world. And as you see here, University of Al-Qaim in Fez, Morocco, founded 859 AD. Okay, so if you see here on the screen, the Roman government, which through edicts of Emperor Theodosius and Justinian closed down the Egyptian mysteries together with this school, the University of the Ancient World, and system of the African culture. So the Royal Library of Alexandria, which was burnt down, which functioned as a modern university. Okay, so this is in contradiction to what Sabir Bey is talking about.
oldest university in the world is in Morocco.
And saying Library of Alexandria in Alexandria, Egypt. So I'm just showing the evidence. I showed George M. James was not a PhD. However, Muhammad Ashby is a PhD, and he basically said it here. The temple precinct of the House of Life and University, where the whole town gathers for instruction, healing, and worship of the divine. So I just shown on this live stream the origins of the university and basically provided evidence from various PhDs, the origins of the alphabet, of writing, of the university system, etc. Now, what I did not cover was Esculapius. I'll probably do this in the remaining minutes. Esculapius, since we have an ego problem of PhDs in our current day society. So there are people who need who unfortunately need a PhD title by their name in order to be quote unquote taken seriously. So I'm going to use the book Blackamoors, Africans in Tudor England by Dr. Onyeka Nubia. And he mentioned in his introduction. Here we go. So in the introduction of his book, let me zoom in. So in the introduction of this book, page 17, In this book, I will show that this does not appear to be what happened to the England. There are a few other historians who share the views I've just outlined, but their research is about the status and origins of Africans in the 16th century continental Europe. These historians, who are African American and African Caribbean, often have their research ignored by the English historians who I have mentioned earlier. This may be because these historians from the African diaspora are perceived as lacking evidence for their theories, or they are accused of falsifying history. However, I find many of these historians' conclusions are supported by evidence, and I suggest that sometimes their work is being treated with indifference for other reasons. These reasons may be based on non-academic issues such as the writer's ethnicity, or that their work is produced by small independent publishing companies. So, he continues here. It is not just African American historians who write on the African diaspora who have their work ignored. The English historian Basil Davison and the African British author Robin Walker in When We Ruled provide more evidence about Africans having power and influence in the 15th and 16th centuries, and their works is treated with indifference probably because it offers this positive perspective. So let me go to a recent interview by Dr. Onyeka Nubia. I'm going to briefly touch on this.
And these divers, right, people that are very connected to the water and the sea, very connected.
This is the book by Down with the King, aka the King's Monologue. White academics sabotage black researchers. A conversation with Dr. Onyeka Nubia. So this was uploaded about 3 weeks ago. I want to touch on this.
Obviously, blackamoors. What started you down this path? You're a PhD. Why did you feel that this book or these works needed to be written?
Yeah, really good question. So I think that my research on Africans in medieval and early modelling, when we say medieval, we just get something clear, because sometimes people take their history from a matchbox. When I'm speaking of medieval, I'm talking about from the 11th century to the 15th. I'm not talking about the early medieval period, from 450 or 476, the time when the Western Roman Empire ceased to be recognized by the Eastern Roman Empire, from 476 to the 11th century. I'm not talking about that, I'm talking about from the 11th to the 15th century. An early modern period, I'm saying from the 15th century to about the 18th century. The early modern period, I'm saying from the 15th to the middle part of the 17th century. This early modern period is often described as the Tudor and Stuart period, although these are terminologies that are only applicable, of course, to England, Scotland, and inverted commas the British Isles. So when I talk about the early modern period, I'm talking about from 1485 to the 18th century. And the early modern period from 1485 to the middle part of the 17th century. So, in 1986, in school and college, was told by my lecturers, by my teachers, that the, not even Windrush, because Windrush wasn't a thing then, but I was told that the only people who had been present, or had ever been present inside these islands were recent migrants, visitors who, passing through, and that the presence, African presence in England, let's come and do a talk at the university about your work, etc. I said, yeah. I said, but you know I'm not a PhD. They said, well, why? Why aren't you a PhD? Why aren't you a PhD? And I explained this story, which is considerably more complex than how I'm explaining it. I'm only giving you a little tiny bit of it. And they said, well, you can do a PhD here, but you're going to need to write another PhD, another thesis. I said, okay, I don't mind. So I did. I wrote another PhD. Not exactly on the same topic, but on the methodologies and science of looking at these matters. I went for the Viva. The Viva is the exam, and they refused to give me the PhD. So I said, what's going on here? This is the second, in fact it was the third time. Then I was contacted by somebody who remained nameless, and they said, look, the reason why they're not going to give you a PhD, it's got nothing to do with your work. He said that they don't want, number one, you to be the face of this history. They can't accept that you have produced this work. It's something that's going on. What you need to do is this, and this. He said to me. This person said to me, you need to do this, and this. And you need to apply again. So I applied again, wrote another PhD thesis. This is my third one. Right? And went through the Viva. This time I passed without correction. Right? So I eventually got my PhD, and then I started teaching in various universities.
And that was at East Anglia again?
Yeah.
The further
okay. Yeah, that's right. So I say this to you so that you might begin to understand, so that everybody might begin to understand the kind of pressures that exist in academia, the kind of hurdles, microaggressions, macroaggressions, and things that one has to overcome. And even when you have your PhD, you have your doctorate, people will still question your credentials. They will still question it. And because of the way in which I got my PhD, it ensures that I've got this huge body of work, on my topic and on the wider history. A huge body of work, more than somebody with my comparable experience would have.
I mean, you had three theses by the time, yeah.
And this helps to explain why England's Other Countrymen came out so quickly. Because that's one of the theses. Just one of them. Yeah. I have another 2 theses that I've never even put into book form yet. 2 theses that are not even in book form yet. So, and need to come out at some point.
So, I wanted to continue touching here, as y'all see this conversation here. And I also wanted to show a video of a recent video by Dr. Molefi Kiasante on his official YouTube channel, Maleficita Institute. That he recently uploaded.
Important thinkers in America during one of their annual events. So I got a chance to talk with her, meet her. He was an incredible figure.
Awesome. What about Jose Pimiente Bay? I may have said.
So we have here Cornel West, Bell Hooks, Shake Out the Joke, Karanga, Malefe Asante, Speaks on them All, Unfiltered, Malefe Kita Asante Institute Lectures.
That little.
Okay, well, yeah.
Want me to redo it?
Well, no. Jose Pimiente Bay
There we go.
actually worked with Bell Hooks at Berea College in Kentucky. But Jose is really known sort of as one of the descendants, intellectual descendants of Ivan Van Sertima. He is perhaps the most important intellectual in terms of Africans in Europe. He has done a lot of work, particularly on the African presence in the Iberian Peninsula.
And then what about, and I feel like we were just talking.
Sarah Miller McCune had a big influence on me. Over 55 years, she's the one company publishing long-term friend.
And then John Henrik Clark and Joseph Ben
Juckinen.
Yep.
John Henry Clark and Yosef Ben Juckinen.
I think that Ben Juckinen and John Henry Clark, they were similar in many ways. They were organic intellectuals. I don't think either one had an earned PhD, but they did have a PhD in human relations and human scholarship, and they both were self-taught. And they learned African history and African culture, and they spoke with courage. Both, I put them together, they both were tremendous intellectuals. If you want to see anything, read anything, look at the videos of John Henry Clark and Yosef Ben Juckinen, and you will be inspired.
And then I want to finish off on my own quote.
Okay, so Dr. Molefe Kita Asante understands that one of the first doctors in history, according to written history, was Imhotep or Imhotep's mother. This is stated by Yosef Ben Juckinen in one of his lectures on YouTube, which I can't find at the moment. This is impromptu. This is just information that I remember. But Yosef Ben Juckinen has stated that Imhotep's mother was the first doctor. But also, if we go this book, Who Were the Moors Before the Moors? Sertima. We see various doctor titles of people who did not obtain a degree or a PhD. For example, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima on page 12 of Who Are the Moors Before the Moors, which I'm not going to upload a picture of this now, but I need to bring up Esculapius, which I was trying to show, but I got lost in. Alright, so let me find that book for us all. I think it's Kemetic diet. Hang on. One moment as we get these references, show our proof, our evidence. So if we look at the Kemetic Diet by Dr. Muhammad Ashby, this is the book title on the screen. That's not what I'm looking for. Fuck. Okay. Here we go. Page 144 of the Kemetic Diet. The profession of medicine in ancient Egypt left Imhotep bronze, late period sculpture now in the Louvre Museum, Paris. Page 144. The name of the doctor in ancient Egypt was Suin or Suin, written like this. Ancient Egyptian history provides us with the descriptions of the first men and women who served as medical doctors. This is by a PhD. So, Maleficita Asante understands this. Dr. Onayeka Nubia understands this. That Asclepius is tied to Imhotep, African Moorish Twa and Buti, Khoisan, African Moorish type Imhotep. So, ancient Egyptian history provides us with the descriptions of the first men and women who served as medical doctors, some of whom were so good at their professions that they became legendary in their own time. The earliest female doctor in historical record was named Mersun Pesheshet. Her position was not only that of doctor, but she was the chief physician, head supervising doctor. Perhaps one of the most famous doctors in Kemetic history was Imhotep. The name, quote, Imhotep, end quote, means, quote, the one who comes in peace, end quote. Imhotep was perhaps the greatest sage of ancient Egypt who lived in the Old Kingdom period, 5000 through 2500 BCE. He was a legendary figure in his own time because he was a master healer, medical doctor, royal architect, scribe, and spiritual philosopher. His writings have not been discovered yet, but some historical records survive that show he was revered by both ancient Egyptians and foreigners alike. He was deified, canonized in the time of Hippocrates and other ancient Greeks went to study medical science in ancient Egypt. They revered and worshipped Imhotep under the Greek name Asclepius as the god of medicine, medical science, and healing. It must be understood that the string of movies from Hollywood called, quote, The Mummy, end quote, wherein Sage Imhotep is depicted as the evil mummy, are nothing but gross misrepresentations of the truth which history records. Okay? So these PhDs understand this. Dr. Molefikita Asante understands this. I'm pretty sure. Dr. Onyeka Nubia understands this. I'm pretty sure. They understand that the Oath of Hippocrates is a dedication to Asclepius, as we have shown through various books. I have other books, another by Dr. Mfudisi Jehutimus, showing that Asclepius is the same as Imhotep. Also, The Journey of the Songhai People by Dr. Calvin Robinson, Redmond Ballows, and Dr. Edward W. Robinson, who we've shown earlier in this live stream, and also one of our shorts earlier today. But yes, all these PhDs understand that the Africans are responsible for medicine and the first doctors. So, you know, the ego boost from these European degrees in order to be heard or understood or be quote unquote taken seriously is really ridiculous and really a facade to hide the glory and grandeur of African Moorish science, culture, and history, and contributions to the world civilization and humanity. So I thank y'all for watching, and we are going to end on this note. Make sure y'all go to our official website, www.slowmoed.com, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And I thank y'all for tuning in on our live on Slow Mode 66 live stream. Make sure y'all donate to our Cash App or visit our official website or shop, and also our Etsy page, so that y'all can purchase our clothing and our merchandise, which is available. Make sure y'all don't if y'all don't want to purchase our merchandise or our materials, you can help by donating to our Cash App, as you see scrolling on the banner here below. Donate to SLOWMOED 420, and we'll catch you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on live on Slow Mode. And I thank y'all for tuning in and viewing this in the future. Thank you. Deuces.